Hi guys, welcome back to another Three Amigos video. My name is Stanton and I've been shooting film photography for about 4 years now. I've experimented hundreds of different rolls of film as well as over 20 different film stocks. And today I will be sharing my experience and my analysis of the different film stocks in hope that you can save some money and you can find a film stock that you like. So whenever I visit my local film store to drop off my film to be scanned and processed, shout out to Camera Film Photo, I tend to pick up some new rolls of film which I haven't tried before. The reason why I do so is I want to get a new challenge in trying a different film stock, but more importantly I want to explore cheaper options because the popular film stocks have become so expensive and sometimes so hard to get. So the sample photos that you'll see have been taken from an array of different cameras, including, for example, the Hasselblad 500cm, the Leica MP, the Leica Minilux, the Olympus MJU, Nikon FE2, etc., etc. Now, several things to note when you're looking at these photos is that I don't really like to edit my film. I love film in its originality and its colors, and so the whole point for me to shoot film is to de-digitalize, and so all these photos are mostly, if not all, unedited. Now, how I will be analyzing the film stock will be coming from several different aspects, including the color rendition, the tone and contrast, the grain structure, exposure, application, and the price. I will try my best to include some affiliate links down below in the description, and it costs you nothing more to buy, but it means a lot for the channel, and if you want to show some support, then please consider buying through the link. Now this video is going to be quite lengthy, so if there is a particular film you would like to try, please refer to the timestamps below. Also, let me know down in the comments below what was your favorite film stock. Also, let me know down in the comments below what is your favorite film stock so we can all share the fun of shooting film in this community. Otherwise, sit back and grab yourself a cup of tea or coffee because this is going to be a long video. So, Kodak Gold 200. Without a doubt, I'm just going to throw it out there and say that Kodak Gold is by far my favorite film stock to use. I use it probably around 70% of the time for my colored photos, and the reason why I like Kodak Gold is that it's very balanced film and it produces very warm and vibrant color tones. Now, in terms of grain structure, Kodak Gold is relatively fine and smooth, and it has a relatively slightly saturated color palette that makes the colors appear very rich and bold. The skin tones, if you notice, tend to have a very pleasing, slightly golden hued quality, and it does have a good exposure latitude, meaning they can handle overexposure and underexposure relatively well. This makes them quite forgiving in terms of minor exposure areas, and I use it from everything from landscapes to portraiture, and it's the one film that I put in my camera if I don't know what I'm going to shoot, and it's something that I know will work for more than 90% of the scenarios. Another great thing about this film is the price. It costs less than $10 per roll, and so it's quite an economical roll of film, and it's really the film that I go to on most of my travels and daily life. Kodak Color Plus 200. As a consumer grade film, Color Plus 200 is known for producing generally good image quality with accurate color rendition, decent sharpness, and moderate grain. As an ISO 200 film, it's a pretty versatile film that can be used for a wide range of photographic applications, from landscapes to portraits to everyday snapshots. It's an easy film to digest because what you see is what you get. Now, Color Plus 200 compared to Kodak Gold tends to have the colors a bit more muted. It's a bit more natural looking compared to other film stocks. The saturation is not as high and punchy as the films, which are usually more aimed at a more vibrant and vivid color reproduction. The rendition of skin tones is very natural and very accurate, and has a very pleasing and lifelike quality without appearing overly warm or overly cool. It also maintains a good amount of highlight detail and avoids blown out highlights than some of the other color negative films, and overall it's a very pleasing and very neutral film to use, and it's one film that I tend to go back quite often as well. The price at the moment for Kodak Color Plus is about $11 per roll, and it's also quite readily available. Ektar 100 is known for its highly saturated and vibrant color reproduction. It's being at ISO 100, it is a relatively slow and fine-grained film. It has an extremely wide color gamut that captures colors in a very bold and vivid way. Skin tones are generally rendered with a smooth and natural quality. And because of its fine gray, Ektar 100 can produce very sharp and detailed images. So it makes it well suited for capturing fine textures and small details. Now, Ektar 100 has excellent highlight rendering capabilities and can maintain great detail in bright areas of the frame. This allows it to handle high contrast scenes very effectively, and personally I love to use it for landscape and for travels, especially when you get nice blue skies and colorful subjects. Forgive me, there are some light leak in these photos, but I really recommend this film for people who love film colors that really pop in your face. This film is slightly higher in terms of the price at about almost $20 a roll, but it is indeed an amazing roll of film. But it is quite hard to get on the market sometimes because of how great the film is. Portra is probably one of the most popular film stocks. It's quite hyped up on the internet by content creators on YouTube and Instagram, and Portra films are renowned for their natural and accurate color tones. They have a very tight, well-controlled color palette that renders colors in a realistic and lifelike manner. In particular, skin tones are captured with exceptional accuracy and subtlety. Portra films have a wide dynamic range and very smooth tonal gradations, and this allows the film to handle both highlights and shadows extremely well, and it preserves the detail across the entire tonal range. In comparison to other films, I think the contrast is moderate, so I would avoid overly high contrast results. Portra films have an extremely fine, well-controlled grain structure, even at 400, and it contributes to the image looking very clean and polished. So I think portrait film is particularly useful and famous in portrait photography, fashion photography, as well as wedding photography. And because of its exceptional color rendition, it makes it an excellent choice for professional photographers as well. Now, Portra is a slightly more pricier film. Usually you need to pay anywhere from $14 to $17 for a roll of film. Alright, now we're talking about Velvia 50 or Velvia 100. Now, unlike most of the films that we have talked about, those films are what we call color negatives, whereas Velvia 50 is a slide film. Now, slide films prioritize vibrant and saturated colors and high contrast, while color negatives tend to have a more accurate and natural color rendition. Do note that slide films require more specialized processing, and they usually take more time and are more expensive, while color negatives are more versatile and easy to work with. The slide film provides a direct positive image, so in case you've ever seen someone on the internet who takes up a piece of film and looks at it directly under the light, those are color, or what we call slide films. Now, the cool thing about slide films is that you can see the photos and even project them onto a wall, which makes it a very, very unique and cool experience. Now, Velvia has an extremely wide color gamut that captures colors in a very bold, almost a hyper-real way. In particular, colors such as green, reds, and blues are rendered with incredible intensity. sometimes the skin tones can appear a bit more muted and less natural compared to other films, and it has an extremely wide color gamut that captures color in a very bold way. Now, because this is an ISO 50 or 100 film, it means that it can capture photos with extraordinary levels of fine detail and sharpness. So things like landscape, nature, and macro photography are an excellent choice. It's been heavily used in advertising and editorial or fine art applications, and so things you need to be aware of is very high contrast situations, because it may lose the detail and create excessively punchy images, which may not appeal to everyone. Now, Velvia is an extremely expensive film and can cost anywhere around $30 for a roll of film. CineStill 50, 400, and 800. Now, CineStill is a unique color film stock that is developed for motion picture use, but has become very popular among still photographers as well. CineStill is based on Kodak's motion picture film, specifically the famous Vision 3 color negative film. So it's modified by removing the ramjet backing layer, which allows it to be processed in a standard C41 color negative chemistry. Now, it has a very distinct color palette that's influenced by its motion picture film origins. It produces images with an increased sensitivity to tungsten or incandescent lighting, resulting in a more warm and cinematic color tone. The skin tones can sometimes appear slightly more reddish or more magenta, and one of the most distinctive features of CineStill film is the characteristic halation effect it produces around bright light sources. Now, CineStill film retains the fine-grained structure of the original Kodak motion picture film, and it results in a very smooth film-like grain pattern that can enhance that cinematic look or cinematic aesthetic. Now, it's perfectly well suited for low light and night photography, where the halation effect around the tungsten color lights can create a very distinct and atmospheric look. Alright, Fujicolor 100 and 200. Now, this film is known for providing natural and accurate color representation. It has a very well balanced color palette that captures colors in a realistic and pleasing manner. When I compare it to things such as Kodak Gold, I find the tone to be a bit more on the cooler side, and the skin tones are rendered very naturally without excessive saturation or warmth. Now, the color gamut is not as wide or as punchy as some other films, but the colors will appear more true to life. Now, Fujicolor has a medium to high level of native contrast with quite a well-balanced tonal range, and it makes it suitable for a wide range of subjects and lighting conditions. And the great thing about Fujicolor film is that it's relatively affordable at around $8 a roll. Now, Fuji Pro 400H is an expired film. It's been not in production anymore since 2021, and this film has rocketed in price since the production has stopped. It has a relatively wide exposure latitude, making it forgiving of over or underexposure, which can be particularly useful in challenging lighting conditions. And I was privileged to shoot 1 or 2 rolls of Fuji Pro 400, but they are becoming increasingly difficult to find on the market, and most of the film stocks that you'll find nowadays are expired. Kodak 500T is also a discontinued colored negative film that was formerly produced by Kodak for professional motion picture and still photography applications. While it's no longer in active production, the expired and remaining stocks of this film also are very sought after by some photographers. Now, this film is known for producing a unique cinematic color palette with a warm, somewhat muted tonality. The skin tones tend to have a gentle, nostalgic appearance, and the colors can appear slightly desaturated. The overall aesthetic has a vintage, filmic quality that is highly prized by some photographers, and Kodak Expired T has a pronounced, characteristic grain structure that adds texture and character to the images. So the grain as a result of which becomes a very integral part of the film's aesthetic appeal to many of its users. Due to its higher film speed at 500 ISO, it is more well suited for low light conditions and for capturing motion. Lomo 100. Lomography are known for making unique retro-inspired film products and film stocks. Lomo 100 is a color negative film that is produced, and it's known for its unique, vibrant color rendition and distinctive visual characteristics. Now, this film is characterized by its bold, saturated colors and high contrast. The color palette has a distinctive, almost hyper-real quality with vivid reds, blues, and greens, and sometimes the skin tones, as a result of which can appear somewhat unnatural with a slightly punchy or oversaturated look. Lomo 100 often produces pronounced vignetting with dark corners and edges, but looking at my photos, I don't think it's too crazy or too over the top. Now, these visual characteristics are intentional, and it gives the film a very unique and quirky aesthetics. Now, Lomo 100 is known for being prone to light leaks and flare, which can also create an interesting and unpredictable light effects on your film. Now, Lomo 100 has a relatively coarse grain structure, which can somewhat add to the vintage analog feel of the images. However, because of its specialized aesthetic, it may not suit all photographic needs or styles. The film of a Lomo is about $20. So let's move on to black and white film, and the first one I want to talk about is Kodak Tmax 100 or 400. Now, Kodak Tmax is a high quality black and white negative film that has been a staple in the Kodak film lineup for many years. Tmax 100 is known for delivering exceptionally sharp, fine-grained images with a wide tonal range. It produces deep, rich blacks and smooth, gradual transitions between highlights and the shadows. To me, the overall tonality is very crisp and clean with a very high detailed look, and has a relatively wide exposure latitude, making it quite forgiving of minor under or overexposures. Now, you can push black and white film supposedly anywhere from 400 up to 1600, but I rarely push my film. But this can be very useful in challenging lighting conditions, and it's a very versatile film that can be used for a variety of genres, including portraits, landscape, architectures, and other sorts as well. Now, a roll of Tmax film goes for around $15, and for me, it's one of my favorite black and white film stocks to use on a day-to-day basis. Rollei produces some excellent film stock as well, and the Rollei Retro 80s, given its low ISO rating of 80, is a relatively slow speed film, and because of this lower sensitivity, it creates excellent image quality and fine grain. Now, the photos you'll see, it produces images with a very soft and muted tonality and has lower contrast in comparison to other black and white films. So this creates a very classic and nostalgic look that creates an almost sort of vintage style photography. And if you look at these photos, man, the landscape absolutely pops. And a roll of this will cost around $8.50. Ilford FP4 125 ISO film is a legendary black and white 35mm film stock that has been a staple in the world of film photography for many decades. FP4 is known for producing images with a classic fine-grained black and white aesthetic. The tonalities feature a rich and deep blacks with well-defined midtones and very crisp highlights. The contrast is well balanced and allows for a wide range of tones and details to be captured, and it's one of those film stocks where everyone should really try at least once in their photography. Now, Kentmere 100. Kentmere 100 is known for producing images with a classic high contrast black and white look. The tonalities feature rich and deep blacks as well, and very well defined highlights with a good range of midtones. Now, the grain structure of Kentmere 100 is fine and well controlled, resulting in a very clean and refined appearance. The grain is present, but it's not overly pronounced and maintains a very smooth and natural overall look. Now this is the Bergger Pancros 400, and if you look at the photos, the film grain is definitely more pronounced because it's at ISO 400. I would say it's a relatively medium contrast film, but at the same time it does render the skin tones very nicely. However, personally speaking, I'm not a huge fan of high ISO black and white film, so I do tend to stick to the lower 100 or 125 ISO films. Kikipan 320. Now, Kikipan 320 is a traditional black and white film that is a negative that was made in Germany and converted in the UK, and the package is designed in Hong Kong and is very unique because it has a cat on it. Now, what's quite interesting is that it has a wonderful character with strong grain and contrast and provides a fantastic atmosphere in your image. So because of its fantastic packaging, I'm sure you'll want to keep that canister after you use the roll of film. Now, Ilford XP2 images have a classic black and white aesthetic despite the chromogenic emulsion. The tonalities feature, again, very rich and deep blacks as well as good mid-tone separation and very well-defined highlights. And the contrast is well balanced, which provides a very natural and very pleasing look. So guys, I hope you've enjoyed the video so far. If you've stayed till the very end, again, thank you so much. Some general take-home messages is that with film, be creative. I think it's a fun process to try and experiment different films. It adds a different dimension to shooting and it makes it more fun and enjoyable, and you become more motivated to actually go out and shoot and experiment with different shots. Now when it comes to analyzing film, pay attention to those several things such as the tonality, the contrast, the grain structure, as well as the color rendition. Now remember that each film stock has its unique strengths as well as weaknesses, and so do find one which you find is acceptable and pleasing for the subjects that you shoot. Now, at the end of the day, film photography is a very personal medium, and many photographers will develop very strong preferences for certain film stock based on your individual taste and shooting experiences. So by experimenting with multiple films, you'll be able to select the most appropriate film stock for your subject and the lighting as well as your desired photographic look. So once again, let me know in the comments down below which of these films were your favorite film, or which ones did you not like as much, or which ones would you recommend to your friends. I look forward to hearing to your comments, and until next time, don't forget to give us a like, comment and subscribe, and we'll see you guys soon.